Now, the day you make the decision you want to come to the US, the next thing you want to do is to look for a host. A host could also be your sponsor, somebody who is already living in this country and who undertakes to open their doors for you or to hold your hands for the first few months or years before you get to your footing. It is very important that you talk to somebody who is already living in the US and request them to be your host long before you come. And you need to make this request very early because being a host comes with certain responsibilities. For example, they need to create time. If they are going to be the ones to pick you from the airport, they need to create time to do that. In this country, usually people budget for their time to the last digit. So you're not going to ask people today and then expect them to create time tomorrow to come and pick you up. It is very important that you make this request very early. Number two, it is important that you do not take for granted that if you have a close relative here or a close friend here, they're going to be automatically your host. No, you have to request them. And you have to know that they may accept or they may not accept. Sometimes they may not accept for very genuine reasons. And you have to take that in your stride. For example, they may be willing to host you, but their spouse is not willing. So in which case, they will say no. Or they may be willing to host you, but their living arrangements does not allow that. There are certain apartments that have restrictions on the number of people who live in them. So obviously, if they live in such conditions or situations, they may not be willing to host you. Or maybe their financial situations may not allow them to host someone because hosting comes with financial responsibilities. So the point is, do not take it for granted that just because you have a close friend or a close relative, they will host you. You need to request them. And you need to know that they may say yes or they may say no. Number three, as regards this issue, have plan A, plan B, plan C, even plan D, just in case something comes up with your original plan, just in case some unforeseen circumstances arise and the person who was supposed to be your host changes their mind. Because things happen. A lot of things happen, and sometimes they're out of the control of everyone involved. So do not overly rely on one person and think that's all you needed to do. Have plan B, plan C, plan D. And then the next thing, write down people's numbers. Do not, again, rely on the contacts on your phone because your phone may go off, your phone may malfunction, or whatever reason. It is just good that you write down people's numbers on your phone and then make the phone calls while you are still at the airport. Because once you get out of the airport, if you do not have a local number, you'll not be able to make any phone calls. In case you need help, and many times you will need help. In case you need help, maybe the Wi-Fi is not working, maybe your phone is not working, whatever the situation, look for help from uniformed officers. All airports have help desks and then they have airport police. Trust one of these people to give you the help. Do not ask random strangers for help because most of them will not help you. Most of them don't even know what you are talking about. Some of them are visitors coming in for the first time like yourself. So in case you need help, please ask from uniformed officers. Now, when you get a host, when somebody takes the responsibility of hosting you when you are still new in this country, it is very important that you respect your host. It is most important that you respect the relationships or the relationship of your host. If your host has a spouse or a partner, it is most important that you respect them. I do not understand. I have never understood why people would come in, they are hosted by a long-term friend or a close relative, and then they begin to have illicit affairs with the spouse. It's happened so many times. It happens, you think like every time you hear that, you think that's the last time you're hearing that. And then another time it happens again and it happens again. Now, what has happened is that many people are reluctant to host newcomers because they just don't want to get into those situations. Now, I want to tell you, your host is your lifeline in this country. So if somebody is kind enough to open their doors for you, respect them, respect their relationships, respect their family members. Do not, for whatever reason, imagine that you can have an illicit affair in that house and it goes undetected forever. It will get detected. They will know. And then what goes round? There's always free flow of information amongst the migrant communities. So people will get to know what happened to you, and nobody is going to be willing to open their doors for you. No. It's going to mess you up big time. Plus, it's going to be very scandalous. It will be all over the place because this person you have wronged, this person whose spouse you met and got entangled with, is going to tell the world. And before you know it, you're going to face a lot of stigma. And that's not how you want to start your new life in this country. So I do not know what those spouses tell people so that they get entangled in such manners, because it's such a dead end. It's foolishness of the highest order. Please respect the spouse of your host. Do not listen to what they tell you, because what they will tell you is that, oh, we are no longer intimate, we are just roommates. Well, they are still living in that house. If you met them in that house, don't touch them. Or don't let them touch you. Many times they're the ones who take advantage of you. Do not let them take advantage of you. Do not have any illicit affairs with someone from the house where you are hosted. It will not end up well for you. It does not matter what they tell you. And I'll repeat this for the sake of the young, naive girls who come. Maybe they're coming into college. Maybe they just got some job and they come into this country. The US is full of divorced and widowed and single people. Just bid your time, get your foundation right, and then you will go out there and meet all sorts and manners of people. Do not be rushed into situations that are going to scandalize your name and are going to stigmatize you and are just going to mess up the rest of your stay in this country. Those people are taking advantage of you. And closely related to that, sometimes you get hosted by a friend or a relative. So you come in Philadelphia, and then somebody is hosting you here. And then suddenly everyone is calling you, oh, you need to come to Seattle. It's very friendly to new immigrants. Oh, you need to come to wherever. You need to come to Florida. People are now suddenly cropping up from the woodworks and asking you to. Do not make such mistakes. Stay with your host until you get all your documentation ready, until you get on your foot and you're able to live independently. Do not be cheated into running from one place to another, because I repeat, your host is your lifeline. And you need to live with them very diligently, very patiently, until you have all everything that you need to survive on your own. And then you will go out there and you can go to as many states as you want. Now, in asking for a host, do not ask your ex to be your host. People come home and tell stories. When we come home, we tell stories. I mean, that's the way it is. This country here has very little social life. So while we are here, all we do is we are buried in work, and there's no excitement going on. So when we come home, Well, we have saved for the trip, so we have money in our pockets, and we have a lot of excitement, and we run our mouths. Do not let not your ex lie to you that they can host you, because they will not. And if they attempt to do it, the drama that will come out of it, especially if they are married, and the worst is if they are married to an American, there will be so much drama. You don't want to get involved. Do not. I need to make you understand that the first few months or the first few years that you stay in this country will form the foundation of the rest of your stay here. You want that transition to go as smoothly as it possibly can. You don't want scandals. You don't want too much drama. You don't want things that stigmatize you or things that are going to give you lots of anxiety or sometimes even mental illness. You don't want that to happen. Just level-headedly look for somebody who can host you, and look for plan A, the person that you are relying on, but have alternative plans should that one not work out. And then be very patient. You have to learn to be patient. And unless the person you are living with is uncomfortable with you there, and sometimes that happens, sometimes somebody hosted you, it went very well the first few weeks, and then along the way they change their mind, in which case you need to go back to your plan B or C or D. That can happen for whatever reason. Maybe it's your fault, maybe it's their fault, maybe it's not anybody's fault, because life here is very dynamic. Things change. You just have to accept the situation. If they are uncomfortable with you in their house, then you can look for plan B, and then you quietly move out without unnecessary drama, because whatever drama you cause, it will come back to haunt you. In this place, people very quickly call the police on you, and then your name remains on the police records, and you just do not know how that's going to interfere with you down the line, particularly when you'll be filing your paperwork with immigration. So you do not want that to happen. Now, while you are being hosted, help around the house. Most people in this country are overworked, and most people would really do with some help. So if you are hosted, you're still in the house, you're not going to school, you're not going to work, please find something that you can do that makes your stay in that house valuable. You could help run errands, like go do grocery shopping or go to the post office or fold laundry or mow the lawn or clean the house. And by the way, that's what we do here. Most immigrants cannot afford to employ house helps. So when you are asked to help around the house, and I suggest don't wait until you are asked. Just volunteer and do it. Do not look at it as demeaning, because even if that was your house, you are still going to do it. Most of us cannot afford house helps, including yourself. So do not look at it like maybe they disrespect you if they ask you to take care of their children, because some of those hosts have young children. You could help them babysit the child for the time that you are still in the house. But by all means, also try to give back something by giving some relief to your host, so that your presence in that house is appreciated more, or your presence in that house is also beneficial to the people you are living with. Now, issues of money are very sensitive. If somebody has accepted to host you, they may not have accepted to take full financial responsibility. So tread very carefully as regards issues of money. Do not take it for granted that they will sort out your money issues. Just be patient, because once you have your paperwork ready, you'll be able to go out there and work, and you'll make a lot of money. You'll make so much money, you'll be surprised. So for the time that you're not making your own money, be patient. And if, for example, you genuinely need financial help from your host, then probably you offer you request as a loan so that you offer to pay back at some point, and be prepared that they may not like it. For some reason, people are very touchy about money. You see, like when we come home and we're just giving out handouts, it's not the same here. When we are here, we imagine that everyone who is here at one point will be making their own money. So we don't want people expecting us to give them their money. So have that mindset that you are not having money as a temporary thing. So there is no rush in burdening your host, particularly if they're not offering or if they appear to be uncomfortable. Otherwise, I will repeat, the moment you make the decision you want to come to the US, the first thing you want to do is to look for a host. Your host is your lifeline. This host is actually the person who will help you bridge the gap between your country of origin and the new country you have chosen as your home. Your host is the person that will help you handle the initial culture shock, because culture shock is real, people. There are a lot of things in this country that you have never imagined, and when you come here, that's when you will experience them. And sometimes you actually need somebody to talk to about this that appears to be confidential. Somebody that you can openly share your shocks and your disbeliefs with. Your host is the one that will help you handle the homesickness that usually comes when you first relocate. People get so homesick. And if you get a host that is a close relative or a close friend, somebody who shares maybe a lot of socio-cultural aspects of life as you, then probably like in the house, they eat the same food as you used to eat in your home. They probably listen to the same music or watch the same kind of TV shows. It helps you handle those initial months of homesickness. So I repeat, the host is very important. Request them in good time, and when they accept to do that, recognize them as your lifeline for the time that you are here. Appreciate the fact that they took up that responsibility by also being nice and helpful to them. And then when you are ready, please move out. Do not overstay your visit until it ruins your relationship. Being hosted is a temporary arrangement. Always have that mindset. For as soon as you're able to depend on yourself, please move out, and move out with respect. Do not move out thinking like, finally I'm out of this prison. Do not disrespect them just because now you're finally able to go out on your own. Now, for people who are sending their children to the US to go to college, some of those children will go directly to college. But it is still important that you give them some point of reference. It is still important that you link them up with somebody who is already in the US, just in case they need somebody to talk to. Just in case maybe something comes up while they are there. It is not very wise to just throw them in the deep sea and expect them to survive just because they turned 18 or they turned 19. It will still be important to give them a host, even if they're not going to live with that host physically. And then, closely related to that, but not exactly about host, once you get your way around, identify with the people from your country in your local community. Let people know where you are. Do not think like, now I'm on my own and I got my own apartment, I don't have to, because other people will tell you, oh, you know, people from your country will always have a lot of rumors or gossip, but you don't have to identify with them. You still need people from your community to know where you are, and you need to know a few of the people from your community, just so that you do not disappear into thin air. Otherwise, thank you so much. My name is Betty Olela. I'm originally from Kenya. I'm living in the United States now, Philadelphia. I recently wrote a book, Navigating the United States of America, a guideline for new immigrants. And the book is on Amazon. I want to appeal to you to please get a copy of the book. Read it and let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you.